It was difficult because, again, we always got to preface it. The offensive line, defensive line, not in pads. Dan Campbell always says, hey, preface it. But he did kind of recognize some players. He recognized Sam Laporta, who was targeted quite a bit. Ennis Rakestraw was a player that really caught the attention of many. Jahmyr Gibbs, like we talked about. So I do think that the biggest winner is Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
I think that he came away with, look, he did the work in the offseason. He got bigger. He got stronger. I think his mental attitude now is, hey, I want to compete to be the number one wideout, in this offense. When he missed catches, he definitely is engaged and wants to learn what happened in the route, what happened in terms of the lack of ability to complete deep plays. And then, you saw in the highlight that they showed, he was able to, not even reach 100% full speed and was still able to connect on a deep ball thrown from Jared Goff, beating Ennis Rakestraw. So also, too, JMO competing against Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw and DJ Reed at training camp is only going to make him better. So I come away with him being the biggest winner. I think the biggest challenge that you saw was a lot of guys not there, like Broderick Martin and Terry Arnold not there. It's unfortunate you don't get a chance to see a lot of the guys at the last day of the second week. A lot of the vets like DJ Reader, Panay Sewell, Taylor Decker, not there. So you miss out on some evaluations there. But I think the biggest challenge you get is that, a lot of the guys were not there that you wanted to evaluate. So Broderick Martin, I think still we got a chance to see him working out on the side. So he looks a little bit more athletic and trimmed down. So we'll get a chance to see him. It's interesting now to see what's going on with but I think that now the other aspect that was challenging is, at least the first week, from what we saw football wise, the interior backups, the depth along the offensive line, a little bit concerning, in that the pressure that we saw from the defensive line kind of got through and it was a little bit more difficult. So the interior is difficult. And I think, unfortunately, until we see otherwise, you have to say the offensive line is the biggest loser, because they lost one of the best all-pro players in football. So it's unfortunate, but that's my list. What did you take away from your readings and your understanding of what occurred at OTAs? I do think that JMO really came away as one of the OTA camp winners, just based on the fact that, hey, Dan Campbell gave him the thumbs up and the praise that, hey, he put in the work and he got a lot better.
Yeah, Jamison Williams, without a doubt, is right up there at the top in terms of winners from the sessions of organized team activities. I think Ennis Rakestraw has generated a lot of buzz, and you're seeing, the tweets coming out about him. I believe it was Ryan Fowler tweeted out the other day that Rakestraw was among the players he was hearing about at the national level in terms of just having conversations with folks around the league. So there's some buzz there for Ennis Rakestraw. Obviously, he'll have an opportunity to compete. And he was also really good in training camp last year. And so you're talking about a guy that if he can stay healthy, there's going to be some momentum for him to go out there and contribute in some capacity in 2025. I think when you talk about losers from OTAs, and it's really hard to, write guys off at this stage because the shoulder pads aren't on yet. But I do think that with Broderick Martin not being an active participant, it's just hard to see where he carves out a role, as far as when you've got guys like Reader and Roy Lopez and Tyleek Williams ahead of him. It's going to be challenging for him to carve out a role when he's pretty much nose tackle exclusive. So that's one guy that I don't leave feeling great about. Another guy that I do feel good about right now is Giovanni Manu. And that's because I'm reading these reports that he's out there with the second team offensive line, playing tackle. They've mentioned potentially signing him into guard if necessary. And for a guy that was a healthy scratch for most of the year last year, didn't play in any regular season games, the fact that he's part of that second line and is working in his way into potentially being a part of that rotation on game day, I think that's incredibly encouraging for him. And I think another loser from this is that kind of young safety group, because Avonte Maddox, from everything I've seen, Avonte Maddox has looked really, really good over the open portions of practice. And so when you talk about guys like Dan Jackson, Morris Norris, Lauren Strickland, Ian Kennelly, there may only be one spot available for this group of guys. So that's going to be a tough challenge for that group to essentially compete for one spot if Avonte Maddox is going to look as good as he's been. So, some excitement, some things that have us a little bit cautious, but I think the biggest part will be decided in training camp. And with OTAs, Some of it is, you can obviously learn a lot about what people's roles might be, but I think a lot of these decisions are made when the pads come on.